So I came here to talk about there's some stuff that's been on my mind. I literally just finished watching a video titled "You Don't Care About Racism as Much as You Think" by this guy called BSO, and good video. I really enjoyed it, and it really opened up some things, to be honest, and it made me think about like certain situations I had been in, where like that seemed very apparent. Like people don't usually care as much as racism as they think they do, or like discrimination in general. Because the guy in the video, he was talking about how when he was on social media, there was this post about Bad Baby and her man or whatever wearing a T-shirt saying "White Lives Matter," and then people under it were saying stuff like, "Oh, they deserve to die," or something like that. Or, that's why you have cancer because Bad Baby has cancer apparently. And he was like saying, well, if you're gonna say stuff like "you deserve to die" to like racists against black people, then the same should be true against bigots of all kinds. So if you're misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, misandrist, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, ableist, anything of that sort, yeah. So if you were to say that they deserve to die, then by default, everyone else should receive the same treatment. And if that was the case, then 70 to 80% of the population would be gone, which is probably true, to be honest. A lot of people harbor hate in their heart, and I felt like, obviously, it's not a good thing to do, but like, we try to justify it a lot of the time, which I don't think is the solution to our problem. We don't need, or we can't, in fact, we can't fight fire with fire. The world just doesn't work like that. Like, okay, so I was gonna say recently, this happened like 2 months ago, 1 or 2 months ago, whatever. I had been to like a games night, with a couple of people, and then after the games, like the conversation had like evolved into something where we were talking about, race and stuff like that, and our experiences of like racism in the uni or whatever. And this girl had spoken up about her experience, and this was she talk about her experience? No, she was talking about how if she was called like a racist slur, obviously like the N word, then she would reply back with a racist slur at the same person, like the person that was discriminated. So, say if a South Asian was this and I saying, "Oh, you're an N word this, N word that," then she would reply back with like a slur that you could attribute to South Asians. And then I was sort of like tilting my head because I'm thinking like that's very like counterintuitive. Like, why would you do that? And it's like, no, I'm gonna return back with the same energy because you shouldn't have offended me in the first place. And though I did understand that anger, I just couldn't like identify with it at all. Like at all. Mainly because of the fact that when somebody is racist towards you, they're racist towards an entire group, an entire demographic. And obviously, that's going to harbor negative effects. So then, when you do the same, you're not only attacking them, but you're attacking the entire demographic that they belong to, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And that's just really not the move. Because imagine, yeah, you even saw this South Asian man with a racist slur because he called you a racist slur. Then you go back to link your South Asian girlies, like it just doesn't work. Like there's the feeling of that just not jarring your head because you've just now been racist to like a person of their demographic, and your justification is like they were racist to me first. And eye for an eye, and the world goes by, man. Like it's just simple logic, simple maths. And I'm not saying this to this at all. Like I understand where she came from in that thought process, but it's just like it's not gonna do us any like goodwill, like at all. Like okay, for example, another example of like stuff to do with people just harboring hate in their heart and just you know finding avenues to sort of like vent that out is like I don't know. Let's see, pedophilia. The guy had mentioned this in the video. BSR, the guy was talking about earlier. He was talking about how predator catchers were going out and just like sort of catching people, but when they were catching people, they weren't turning them into the police. They were sort of just like putting them in RKOs, punching them, pushing trolleys into them, just doing the most up like doing everything apart from turning them into the police, which is the issue here. Oh sugar, I forgot to put my headphones in for the mic. I'm sure we'll be fine. Anyway, and yeah, like he's obviously right, and I feel like the rebuttal to that would be like, oh well, the justice system wouldn't even do enough. They would just slap them with like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when it really they should get life in prison. And like, oh, they deserve the worst. They deserve to be chemically castrated. Listen, yeah, call me controversial, but I just don't think that's the best solution to our problems here. Because I genuinely think people with paedophilic tendencies are like mentally disturbed. They are definitely mentally disturbed. I'm not gonna like argue with that at all. I completely agree with that. But like, if our solution to that is gonna be punishment on punishment on punishment, really, it's really not gonna solve anything. Because like, I do agree that the justice system isn't doing as much as they could. But like, for the extreme cases where like pedophiles are going to jail and they're getting shanked up, they're getting raped themselves, or just like beat up every single day, that's obviously going to be like a deterrent. Like, it's not as if pedophiles are walking around or sex offenders are walking around and this is just like not going to be an immediate throw in the head, like, oh, well, if I get caught, it's always going to linger in the back of their mind for sure. For sure, which is why they feel such fear when they get caught by these predator catchers. But the fact of the matter is, I don't feel like we're providing enough of a space for them where they can actually like rehabilitate themselves. So like, what I'm saying is that if they have this constant lingering fear that something bad is gonna happen to them, they're gonna try to stay away from the authorities as much as possible. Whether it's after they start like fondling with kids or before they start fondling with kids, because like, oh, I have these perverted thoughts, I can't possibly like, seek some help about it to just try, receive some sort of therapy to sort of dispel this. Instead, I'ma just try and keep this all to myself, which is too much of a battle. It's way too much of a battle because what ends up happening is that they end up going touching the kids, or like they end up just like, I don't know, doing suicide, just something bad. The result is almost always something bad. So like, that's why I don't agree with harboring hate in your heart, because like, if these people felt as if there was a space for them to just like come clean and say, listen, I have these thoughts, I have these feelings, I have these tendencies. Could you do something for me to like just come out of it? Just like, could you rehabilitate me in some sort of way? That's not gonna happen. First person they meet, that's first person they tell that to is gonna box them up immediately. That's just the world we live in. And if we want there to be less cases of like pedophiles, because we've got to think like the children are the priority here. The children are the priority here. If we want there to be less cases where they are getting home, we need to provide spaces where they're able to come before they've done the deed and just like, receive some help in some way or form. It may sound controversial because like almost everybody around here said, "Oh, pedophiles need to be chemically castrated. They need to deserve the worst." And like, I understand their logic. I understand why they arrived at that point. Obviously, it's a it's a putrid crime if we're being honest. But like, prevention is better than cure. That's what my mom always says. We have to keep it real here. Like, if we want this to stop, we need to prevent it before it gets out of hand. You know. So yeah, like, that's my main point. I'm gonna probably just stop the video here. I don't know if it's my shortest video, but yeah. Anyway, peace guys. Thank you.